What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing a react to this video right here from Anna Lakovoska. I think I got that right. Anyway, it's called How I Would Study Spanish If I Could Start Over Again, Resources and Tips. And I'm sure this is going to give me plenty of opportunities to talk about how I would start over on my Spanish journey if I was not on said challenge. That is the ALG Dreaming Spanish Challenge. But yeah, anyway, I want to see what she's got to say. Oh god, I hope she doesn't introduce grammar points, because that would just screw up my experiment.
Studying Spanish for about 8 years now, and I've been fluent in Spanish for about 6 of those.
So I've been going for over a year now. That is kind of crazy. Time flies when you're aging. I was gonna say, the whole when you're having fun, but aging ain't fun, you feel it.
Those years, and if I had to start learning Spanish again from scratch, I would do it completely differently. So this video is for past me. Also,
yeah, I would do it completely differently from what I did as well.
So before we get into it, I know that I pronounce Spanish weirdly. I know it's supposed to be Spanish, but I grew up in Ireland. That is just how we pronounce.
Ireland? Isn't it Ireland? Am I pronouncing it wrong? Ireland? Island? Oh, I gotta check.
Ireland.
Yeah, no, I'm right. Okay, I can't trust myself so many times, okay? I just gotta check. Wait. Maybe that's how the Irish say it, though. How do they say it in Ireland? Mail from Ireland himself. Okay, let's listen.
Ireland.
Ireland.
Oh, so it is the local way of saying it. Ireland.
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 Ireland. Ireland, boys. Okay, cool. Now I can sound like I'm legit from Ireland.
Buying so many grammar books. This is a very personal point for me, because when I first started studying Spanish, I think I literally bought 5 or 6 grammar books because I was like, this is the only way to learn a language. To be fair, that was the first language I was ever learning at that point, so I understand where the excitement was coming from. But if you are still kind of...
We've all been there. We've all got tons of textbooks laying around the house.
A beginner in Spanish and you need to learn some grammar, all the grammar points you need are on studyspanish.com, which is free. I'm not in any way...
Oh, guys, it's tempting me. It's right there. It says studyspanish.com/grammar. It's so close. All I have to go is click on that link and find out. I can't. For those who are really confused about why I'm stressing about grammar, okay, as part of my Spanish challenge, I am learning Spanish literally just by watching content in the language, and I am so desperate to go check a grammar book.
affiliated with them or anything, but they have over 100 different units of grammar points that you can...
Oh no, I can't look at that. I can't
read
look.
about. Then you can do quizzes, you can do little exams, everything you need is online for free. And that specific resource, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know where to start, studyspanish.com, all the grammar you need for a beginner. Obviously, if you're going to go into super advanced grammar, you might have to find another resource, but that is more than enough to get you started with talking. And I really wish I had gone to that website rather than buying all these books that I just didn't end up using anyway.
This always happens. It's you buy, I got all these random Chinese books and stuff, and then you find out there's a whole Chinese Wikipedia devoted to Chinese grammar, and it's well, I'm glad I supported that author. But funnily enough, that Chinese Wikipedia I'm talking about actually rips from a bunch of the books that I use anyway. Well, I don't actually use them.
The second thing that I would tell myself, which I only learned recently, is I would make sentence mining flashcards over basic vocabulary flashcards. So there are so many different ways of studying.
100%. Always learn things in context. It's way better. Even for a language like Chinese, which does not deal with conjugations, just learning things in context gives you an anchor point in your mind for the new information you're learning. Because when you're learning anything, okay, the best way to learn something is not by itself standalone floating in the void. So if you already know all these basic words and you want to learn a new word, well, connect it with the words you already know, and it makes it so much easier to connect in your brain. But if you're just learning basically just a random list of words, there's no connection between what you already know.
Vocabulary, and everyone has their own preferences, but for me personally, Anki was always the way to go. I love their SRS algorithm, so I always make my flashcards on there. But the problem is, before, anytime I would make flashcards, I would get a list of 50 words, and I would just make back-to-back flashcards, English to Spanish, Spanish to English. And that way, I was not learning the words in any context, and I was just memorizing these words, but then not actually being able to use them in a sentence.
Yeah, don't do this. The only time I would say that this is kind of acceptable is if it is very, very obvious what the goddamn word is without any context. We're talking words like cat, gato. in Spanish, or kato in Esperanto, or mao in Chinese. I love it in Chinese. It's so cute. It's like mao.
Like almost ever. Sentence mining is basically getting a sentence and just finding one word that you don't know and making a flashcard where only that word is missing. So
yeah, so what she's using here, for those who don't know, that's called a cloze. Basically, it's CLOZE. That is one of the best ways, because you basically read the whole sentence and then you fill it out. But the one thing I would say is make sure you build multiple sentences using this specific word, because what can happen is you actually just start memorizing cards. You want to make it so you can't memorize a card. And if you don't understand what I mean, it's like you get to the point where if the card is very obvious what the answer is as soon as you open the card, because you've done the card enough times. So make sure that each one of your cards, it can't be memorized by itself as a card. Basically, you do not want it where you recognize the outline of the card itself as opposed to actually learning the language.
you see the whole sentence and then it's just that one word that you don't know and that you learn that word through context. Obviously, you need to have a certain level of Spanish to be able to do this, but honestly, I think even A1 is more than enough to make.
Oh god. Guys, I'm looking at grammar. Okay, good, I already know all those words. I was like stressing for a second then, like maybe I didn't. But I've never seen it written, so now I know what it looks like written.
Sentence mining flashcards. Right now, I am studying Visaya very actively, and I am not making any more normal flashcards. Like, all of my flashcards are sentence mining flashcards. Because again, you're learning that word through context, and sometimes one word can have 5 different meanings depending on the context. So you can make 5 different flashcards depending on the context that it's in, rather than just like put one word and like put all the 5 different meanings, because that way you're just not gonna remember all of it. So this was a very big one for me. The next thing that I would tell myself would be to not wait to start immersion and speaking.
Oh, don't worry, that wasn't a problem for me, the immersion part at least. I didn't wait for that. Speaking, yeah, no, what she's saying is true. You don't want to wait too long for that. And I just happen to be waiting too long.
You can do that from day one. When I started learning, I always thought that there was basically no...
Oh god, I just realized. There's music. Guys, we have music. I need to check if this is copyrighted. Okay, I'm gonna speed it up just a tiny bit. I've probably been fine because I've been interrupting her for like every 2 seconds, so...
point to practice speaking on my own, like record myself or to watch like Spanish vlogs and stuff until I was at least a little bit conversational, because I was like, what's the point? I'm not gonna understand anything anyway, and what's the point of speaking because I don't have enough vocabulary to say anything. But even on day one, you will have enough vocabulary to like even speak for 10 seconds. Like if it's just hola, me llamo, da da da. However long it's been, you are definitely capable of speaking for at least 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and you can always work your way up. Like no,
I would 100% do all this if I was restarting Spanish as well, because when you practice speaking, it reinforces your listening. Because when you listen and you learn via context of listening, you don't hear each individual sound, you kind of hear a fuzzy shape of the sounds that make up the word, okay? You kind of just get an idea of how it sounds. But when you speak, you need to verbalize each and every specific sound of that word. And by doing that, you then become better at hearing the each and every individual sounds of that word, okay? So it kind of reinforces. And if you've already heard that word many times, that can also help the speaking side of things, because you've already got an idea of how it should be spoken. But if you're doing both at the same time, I would say that's probably the best way to progress, because you're using 2 skills to kind of reinforce each other.
But he's asking you to start with 5 minutes straight of speaking. And the thing about immersion, and I think the reason why so many people want to leave it until later, is that they think that immersion is only for getting vocabulary, but immersion is a lot to do with getting the rhythm and the tone of the language. And that does not come in one day. That builds, and
it also helps you build a common understanding of like what structures are used in certain contexts, because you may form a perfectly valid Spanish sentence, okay, according to the grammar of the language, but that's just not how you would say it in Spanish. I think a good example is that in Spanish you don't say I like someone, okay? You could grammatically say that, but you wouldn't say that, because that means you like them. You know, it's got a different meaning. It's kind of that meaning.
You understand that rhythm and tone over time. So if you start listening to Spanish from the beginning, even when you don't really understand what they're saying, like maybe you could be listening for 5 minutes straight and you just understand 1 or 2 words, you're starting to listen and acknowledge and recognize patterns in the way they speak. So if you're not really prioritizing immersion until you're at like a B1 conversational level, you are not going to learn that rhythm and tone in a day, not even in a month. It takes time. My personal recommendation for immersion would be LingoPie. I have talked about them in so many videos, so you guys must have heard of them already, but they're actually the sponsor of today's video. LingoPie is a
Lingo pie, man. I cannot escape the lingo pie. God damn it.
Never realized the power of
Sorry,
comments
guys.
until recently. So before, I would always try to find content to watch in Spanish, and a lot of the times you find YouTube videos that don't have subtitles, or I don't know, they have those automated subtitles, but usually they're not that good, and you kind of feel lost because sometimes you just want to watch a vlog, but there's like nothing with subtitles. You can't find something that you're interested in. But there are comments. If you think about it, comments are probably the most conversational written form of text that you will ever find. Because for example, if you're learning with a news article or a podcast or something, that language is usually a little bit fancier than how people talk day to day, whereas comments,
Or you could just go into a chat room as well. Chat rooms are just as good. Forums generally, I guess forums sometimes a little bit more structured, but I'd say chat rooms just as effective, and it allows you to follow a whole conversation as well.
are literally coming from the people. And yes, there are some risks with this because sometimes people don't use proper grammar, or they misspell things, or there's a lot of slang. But if you are aiming to learn that language and speak it fluently, you're gonna have to pick up on those little things anyway. So I would really recommend to learn with comments. Find a video that you want to watch, and even if it doesn't have subtitles or it doesn't have a transcription or whatever you need, go into the comments and copy the
So in Spanish, because like in English, whenever someone's the first person to comment on a video, they always say something like first and then second, you know, something like that. What do people do in Spanish? Is it exactly the same? Do they just say first? You know, or whatever the Spanish word is. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. God, fucking hell, I hate our ALG sometimes, bro. I hear the word, I'd instantly, it's like, no, it's not prima, because that's like cousin or something. But it's similar to that.
comments and paste them into ChatGPT if you want, and you can ask, is this all correct? Is there any like incorrect spellings? Is the grammar all correct? And then after that, you can use that comment to make your little sentence mining flashcard. The next thing that I would tell myself is please, please, please focus more on learning slang. This would only apply to you if you're learning a certain dialect or a certain
Yeah, don't worry, I'm getting plenty of slang through the ALG method. You just gotta watch a lot of gaming channels, you'll hear it all the time. But also, if I was to restart the language, I don't think I'd start with slang. Like, I might learn some slang just to spice things up, but I think this is more like an intermediate level thing when you're trying to actually get a lot of content in that you'd start to care about this stuff. I think at the beginning, I'd kind of learn the formal language, but I'd sentence mine from, you know, actual videos. So it wouldn't be so much the formal language, but I wouldn't go out of my way to pick up slang. Let's just say that.
accent. For me personally, I moved to Spain after studying Spanish for a long time, and honestly, I feel like I did not understand 20% of what was being spoken. I guess it depends on each country, but in Spain, there are so many variations of saying the same thing, and so many of those variations you are not going to find in a textbook. I thought I knew Spanish, and then I moved to Spain, and I was very much humbled. So what I would recommend for my past self is look up slang videos on YouTube, watch slang videos on TikTok, like pick up anything.
Or if you watch a lot of content in the language, realistically, you're going to pick up the slang. And most slang is based off of actual words that are used. Like, they're just modified, or they might be individual, you know, unique words or something. But, like, you can kind of figure it out if you watch enough. Like, I'm starting to pick up on some of the slang.
You can, even if it's outdated slang that people are not really using anymore, it will still form some sort of context. So for example, people day to day are not really using lol as much in English. I don't know if that's considered a slang. I know some people still say lol, but before
I say it all the time, but I'm a millennial.
it was like very, very widely used, whereas now it's kind of like sarcastic if you use it. The same thing can apply.
Do I use it in a sarcastic way? No, I literally just add it to fucking everything. I just put lol on the end of anything just to soften it. What is lol and how do I use it? Okay, I want to see. Is this like some... lol means... Yeah, I know what it means, okay? It is one of the most famous acronyms. Yeah. You can also use lol as a verb. For example, if you want to convey something made you laugh in the past, you might type I lolled. Yeah, that seems kind of lame though. I wouldn't do that. Lol variations. Okay, is lol dropping in interest? Nowadays, one common use of the word is in an online sentence filler. That's exactly how I use it. I literally use lol as a sentence filler. Similar to how people say like in speech, many people will send the word lol before or after message without really thinking about it. Yeah, exactly. Is that how you guys use lol? Let me know, because she was saying it was almost like archaic or something, and that made me feel old. There are even ways to use lol negatively. Send nothing but lol in response to someone's message can be a subtle hint that you don't find what they said exciting or relevant to you. Do I do that? Probably. I probably do that. Isn't it crazy how, like, acronyms are basically become standalone words with their own specific meanings and even like divergent from the original meaning itself?
In Spanish, there can be some slang that is outdated, but people still might kind of bring it up in conversation, or maybe there's new slang that builds on top of the old slang. Any slang you learn, honestly, is going to be useful for you, even if it's not really used anymore. The point is not necessarily to use it. The point is to understand it. You can use it once you feel comfortable, but first of all, we just want to understand all of it. So watch as many videos as possible. Personally, I would say go to TikTok if you want to find slang. I feel like there's a lot more updated videos. I think YouTube would be a little bit more outdated slang, but I could be wrong.
That's a weird recommendation. I get it. Like, lots of the Gen Zers and below are on TikTok and stuff, but you're gonna find just as much on YouTube. Why download an entire shit app just to... By the way, guys, I have a TikTok account that's been set up just as recently. I highly recommend you guys go check it out and sub to my TikTok channel.
Reading out loud more often, even if you don't understand what.
Always read out loud. Okay, especially once you understand the phonetics of a language, when you're learning a language, make sure you just read out loud all the time. Now, the reason being is because that will train your mouth so much more. Yes, you can probably sit there and silently read it in your head type of thing, but read out loud, trust me, that's definitely a very, very important point.
Whatever you're reading, just to get used to hearing yourself speak in Spanish. So the thing that I realized for me is that most of my fear of speaking in front of other Spanish people was not necessarily that I'm not gonna know a specific word. It was more not wanting to get my words all tangled up. Because sometimes if I try to speak Spanish quickly, I almost start getting like a stutter because my Russian speaking brain and my English speaking brain, they're just not used to the way that Spanish moves. Like, it's so quick. So sometimes I feel like I'm gonna get a stutter, so I get kind of nervous of speaking. And reading out loud helps prevent that from happening. I'm not saying it's gonna completely get rid of it, but it's gonna give you a lot more confidence. You're gonna know what your voice actually sounds like. And when you're speaking to people, it's not these random words that you're saying for the first time in front of someone else. You have probably already said that word in the past when you were reading. So
yeah, that's completely correct. So if you've said those words enough times and you've said them in enough contexts, then when you finally want to use them, they will just come out. But if you've only ever just visually seen them and read them in your mind, it's gonna be a fumbled mess as it comes out of your mouth.
Again, the point is not to necessarily understand what you're reading. If you're at that level where you can read a book and understand everything, then great. But if you're not, find a free Spanish book online and just read out loud. You don't have to understand. Even like a little 10-minute practice per week is better than nothing. My next tip is actually a resource.
I would say pick something that you at least understand to a very high degree. Otherwise, you're kind of just pointlessly wasting your time if you're just verbalizing words you don't understand.
But I fell in love with doing Spanish crosswords on Linguno. They also have little conjugation drills that I do sometimes, but their crosswords are so freaking good. They have crosswords for every single level of Spanish. They also have monolingual crosswords. So for example, you are reading the description in Spanish and then answering in Spanish. They also have like theme crosswords, and you get these every single day. So every single day.
I fucking hate crosswords. Fucking hate them. This would be chaos for me, but since I hate them, she's recommending it. Yeah, maybe you guys will like it.
They are coming out with like 50 crosswords in Spanish specifically for learning. So this is just a resource that I would tell myself to use because it is so nice to just do a quick little daily crossword. It takes 5 minutes, and even if you just learn 2 words per day, amazing, beautiful. Like, I feel like that is such a good rate of learning a language if you feel like you're not in that phase where you want to be actively studying, but you still want to pick something up. Crosswords on Linguno is like chef's kiss. And last but not least, what I would tell myself is please don't get too hung up on making the perfect detailed study plan. I think this is the biggest takeaway for me because in the past I've always tried to make this like super intricate detailed study plan where like on Monday I'm doing listening.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, okay? So I never had the desire to make a study plan, but when I first started learning Esperanto and I didn't know much about languages, like everyone, I went to YouTube and I like learned from other people, okay? And everyone was talking about their highly complex study plans with dedicated time for this and that and, you know, making certain progression and tracking this and that. It did not work for me, okay? And I was like, well, I guess I'm just weird. I just like learning shit as it comes at me, you know, picking my own topics and stuff. So don't feel required to do this, obviously. But if you enjoy doing it, do it.
On Tuesday, I'm doing grammar and like super, super organized in that way. But honestly, if you try to get through the grammar lessons that I mentioned in the beginning, you're watching some Spanish videos on LingoPie, you're following some Spanish YouTubers, you are learning vocabulary that is applicable to you in your life specifically, not just like fork, knife, spoon, but specifically things that can help you talk about your own life, you are going to be fluent in time. Like, just give it time. You don't need some crazy complex study plan. I'm currently
Obviously, you're going to need to know those words like fork, knife, etc. Like, you'd be surprised how quickly you're at a restaurant and you're like, can you give me another... Fuck, how do I say fork? Another pointy trident of death because I've been playing games in Spanish.
studying another language called Bisaya Cebuano, and I feel like I am progressing much more than I have with any other language, and that is the first time where I'm just not making myself a study plan. I'm just going along my little grammar lessons, I'm watching a couple of videos if I can, and I'm not making a huge deal out of it, and I'm just showing up rather than trying to make this perfect plan but then never actually doing it because it's so complicated, you know? But yeah, those are all the things that I would tell my younger self, and I hope they helped you. Let me know if you have any other little tips or resources for studying Spanish. We can use this as like a big Spanish resource video, so please let me know if you like this video, and I will see you guys in my next one.
Okay, so what would I do before I get slapped in the face? Because it looks like she's about to fucking bitch slap my ass. Okay, so obviously I started a year ago, and if I wasn't doing a challenge, well, I wouldn't be learning Spanish. But assuming for some reason I decided to learn Spanish, like, you know, because I wanted to, the first thing I would tell myself a year ago to younger Evildea is, first up, enjoy your hair. This is the last year you're ever having hair. So, the second thing I would say, okay, so you're gonna learn Spanish, my man. Obviously, do a lot of input, but no, you're gonna start sentence mining, probably from basic books. In fact, you might start with audiobooks that you can just follow along with, because I feel like with Spanish, that's a language I could probably pick up quite quickly if I just had, you know, very basic audiobooks and I was listening to them while reading along and looking up the words I didn't know. And then, after I've done that probably for like, I don't know, a week or two just looking up words, I'd probably start to figure out the grammar patterns myself naturally, but at the same time, I'd start looking up grammar and just probably start building out similar cards to what she's got there, closed cards, but they would be focused on the grammar of the language at first, and then I'd expand out from there. But what accent would I have chosen? Well, I probably wouldn't have known anything about accents back then, so I probably would have done what every goddamn person does and then would have chosen, I don't know, Mexican or freaking Spanish, mainland Spanish, you know? Which would have made me boring. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to look into. If you guys have enjoyed this video, let me know what you would do if you were to start Spanish again, down in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, that will be you, my boys.